This video is about simplifying rational expressions. Let's get started. A rational expression is like a big fraction where there's a polynomial in the numerator and a polynomial in the denominator. And in this video, we're focused on how to simplify those expressions. And in the next video, we'll talk about how to multiply and divide them. In the next video, how to add and subtract them. And then after that, we'll get into solving equations with rational equations. Okay. Right now, we're just simplifying rational expressions. And what I will do throughout this entire process of rational expressions and equations is kind of tie back to fractions. Okay, because that's what the root of this is. So today we're focused on how do you simplify something like 2/4 into 1/2, but with rational expressions. Okay, and though I know that we have said, okay, there's a 2 in common, it goes into it 1 time, it goes into it 2 times. That same process that we're doing with fractions, we're doing with rational expressions, but we have to do it a little bit differently because you probably can't factor both of them in your head and look for common factors in your head. Okay, so the way this process will look, instead of this cancel out method, what we will do is instead write 2/4 as 2 and 4 as 2 times 2, so that I can clearly see my common factor of 2, and then I'm left with a 1 and a 2. That's what our process will look more like. I'm gonna factor, okay, and then I will cancel. Okay, so with that in mind, I got to factor first and then cancel common factors. Let's look at example 1 and example 2. Okay, so it looks like in example 1, we're given this rational expression. I have a polynomial on top and polynomial in the denominator. Okay, and then this is factoring. Okay, they factor the numerator and the denominator. Okay, and then we canceled common factors. In this case, it was x minus 3b in top and bottom. Again, just like with fractions, one must be in top, one must be in bottom, and then we rewrote it so it has just those things. Okay? In example 2, we did the exact same thing. We factored, and then we canceled, and we rewrote it with just the things that are left. Okay? In fact, those are the 2 steps that will follow. We will first factor the numerator and denominators. And then we will cancel common factors between the numerator and the denominator. Okay, with that in mind, let's try example 3. Okay, so I first want to factor the numerator and the denominator. So in the numerator, 2x plus 6, I see I have 2 terms. I will first always look for a GCF. In the numerator, I do see a GCF of 2. Okay, and 2 times what is 2x? It is x. 2 times what is 6? I get 3. So I get 2 times the quantity x plus 3 in the numerator. In the denominator, I have x squared plus x minus 6. That is a trinomial, and the leading coefficient is 1, so it's the simple ABC method. And so x squared is x times x. I'm looking for 2 numbers that multiply to be -6 and add to be a +1. And that is, let's see here, a 3 and a -2. And so I get +3 and I get a -2. So I factor the top, the numerator, and the denominator. And now I will cancel out common factors. Okay, and I see an x plus 3 here, and x plus 3 here. Now you must eliminate the entire factor. Okay, you can't just cancel the 3 and the x and things like that. The entire factor has to be canceled out. And I rewrite what's left, and it's a 2 on top and it's x minus 2 on bottom. So this is the exact same expression, except this is simpler. So I just simplified the rational expression. Okay. In number 4, we again notice that there is a GCF in the numerator. So 2n minus 8n squared has the GCF of 2n. Okay, 2n times what is 2n? The answer is 1. 2n times what is negative 8n squared? And that is a minus, let's see here, 2 times what is 8? It's 4. N times what is n squared? It's n. So you get 1 minus 4n. Divided by, now I could multiply the 2 times 2n, but I see already in the numerator I have 2n. So it's really easy for me to write down 2 parenthesis 2n so that I can cancel off this 2n and this 2n. Okay? So, and what I'm left with is in the numerator 1 minus 4n divided by 2. Okay, so we're factoring the numerator and the denominator and canceling out common factors. Okay, just like we did simplifying 2/4 to 1/2, or factoring out, simplifying fractions with common factors in the numerator and denominator. It's the exact same, except it's now with polynomials in numerator and denominator. Let's try 2 more. So let me scroll up. I would like you to try numbers 1 and 2 and pause the video and try to factor those, and then we'll go through it together. Okay, in number 1, in the numerator, there really isn't any factoring to do. Like 3x minus 2y can't get any simpler by factoring out a GCF or anything else. Okay. In the denominator, however, it's a binomial and it is the difference of squares. So I can factor the denominator, and what squared is 9x squared? Well, it's 3x and 3x. And what squared is 4y squared? It's 2y and 2y, and I have plus and minus as the difference of squares. Again, any of these patterns that you're struggling with, please go back and see my YouTube channel. I have videos on every single factoring pattern, and so you can review, hey, difference of squares or difference of cubes or whatever. Go back and review those videos, as that's why they're there. Okay, so I now look for common factors, and this whole factor cancels with this whole factor, and I get 3x plus 2y on bottom. That's pretty easy. But what's left on top? Well, let me go back to fractions and review this. So if I have let's just say 2, well, that's not used to, I used to before. Let's do 3/12. Okay. I know that 3/12 goes into 3 one time, goes into 3 4 times. I get 1/4. Okay, but writing the way we've been doing it, I'll write this as 3 divided by 4 times 3. This cancels with this, and remember that I have a 1 left on top. Okay, so for that exact same reason, as I cancel everything in the numerator, I still have 1 left, the multiplicative identity of 1 left. Okay, in number 2, the denominator is already factored for us. That's super nice. So in the denominator, I have this x plus 1 times x plus 2 times x minus 3. Super nice. Okay, in the numerator, I have a trinomial. Leading coefficient is 1, so it's the easier version. And I have x and I have x. 2 numbers that multiply to be 4 and add to be positive 5. That's 4 and 1 kind of fit that. So I have plus 4, and I have, it's not a very pretty plus 1. Okay, so I've factored the numerator, factored the denominator. I will now cancel out common factors, and that is, looks like an x plus 1, this entire factor, and I have x plus 4. I don't need the parentheses, actually. divided by x plus 2 and x minus 3. And a note here is that you will leave things factored. Don't multiply things out, okay? Because most things that we do in solving and other things that we'll do later on with rational equations, leaving it in a factored form will be easier for us. This video was about simplifying rational expressions. Thank you for watching.